Hey guys, welcome back. This is Dr. Phil. We're in our book, The Study of the Five Languages of Appreciation in the Workplace. And we're just kind of navigating this book. You know, when Dr. Gary Chapman, Paul White put it together, they discovered that our relationships at work is so important. Most of us watching this, you understand that. That's one of the reasons why this consortium values helping develop, not necessarily train. You have to be trained in some things, and training is important, but also about the development of us individually, that we can navigate our workplace relationships where they're positive for us and they're positive for people around us. So we're in this book, and you have this book, and hopefully you're reading it. We're kind of walking through the Cliff Notes side of it. But we're in chapter 4, and we're going to talk about quality of time. Again, what we have to discover is, what is our workplace language that we feel valued, that we feel appreciated. Last time we was together, we talked about words of affirmation, words of appreciation. They have to be specific words. They have to be personal words for a person to have value. Now, we're going to look at quality time. And by showing our coworkers appreciation, by speaking the language of quality time, it's powerful, yet often largely misunderstood by so many people. So the definition of quality time we mean when we talk about that is given the person that we're trying to add value to their life. It's giving them our undivided attention, okay? Quality conversation requires undivided attention. It means that we're very empathetic in our listening, with a view to understand what's going on, not just in the event, not just in the process or the program, what's going on in the person. What is this person feeling? What is their thought process? And the sad thing about in our culture today, whether you have an extended education, very few of us ever have training upon what it is to be a good listener. And listening is important in the conversation. I know most of us think, well, you got to be a good communicator. You got to be able to talk. You got to be able to articulate your words. No. Study after study shows us what's so important in a relationship to advance it, to help navigate it, is how to be a good listener. So there are 4 types of listeners. Write this down. 4 types of listeners. Number 1, there's the non-listener. This is a person who they're just preoccupied with their own thoughts, and though they are hearing, they're hearing the noise, they're not paying attention. They're just a non-listener. They're involved in their own thing. And secondly, is the passive listener. The passive listener, they hear the words, but they don't absorb the meaning. And they don't really feel the impact of what's happening. So they'll have the vague answers. The passive listener is the person, hey, did you hear what I said? Oh yeah, I heard you, and yeah, that'll be okay. Well, you really didn't hear what I said. You really wasn't paying attention. You were just kind of passive listener. Then thirdly, there's a listener. The listener is the person, they hear and they listen, but what's this? They only grasp the meaning of the talk that interested them. They only grasp the meaning of the conversation that really catches their attention. Now this is the most common for most people who do not want to listen to a topic to which their views different, and that they just kind of shut down, and they just kind of cease listening. They kind of tune in to what interests them, but as soon as the conversation switches to something that they don't want to hear, they just kind of start tuning you out. So we have the non-listener, the passive listener, the listener, but then here's the 4th listener. And this is what we want to strive to do and train ourselves, is to be an active listener. an active listener, they not only hear the person speak, but they also listen with patience. They listen with an open mind, and they're completely focused on the speaker while they're having the conversation. It's said to be a good listener, you become a good communicator by being a good listener. As we understand the value of words, it's the active listener that lessens the chance of misunderstanding and misinterpreting the ideas, or we pick up on the wrong emotions. So again, if you have somebody in your coworkers, or maybe it's you, that your language of appreciation is quality time, that means that when the moment comes and the conversations come, you want to have somebody that's going to be an active listener. Now the main difference between hearing and listening is while listening only refers to the noise our ears pick up, listening means that we interpret the noise and we understand the heart of what's happening. We understand the person that's going on. And oftentimes listening uses the passive listener, the non-listener. They kind of tune out some of the important things happening. That active listener, they pay attention to body language. What is the body language? Crossed arms or turning away. What's the body language is saying? And most of us understand if somebody asks you, what do you prefer somebody be for you? Okay, you and I should be giving what we expect for other people. Do I want somebody in my coworker, somebody that I'm spending 15 to 20% of my life with in a workplace? I want them to be non-listeners. I want them to be passive listeners, so I just want them to listen. Or would I prefer that they're active listeners? Because active listeners, what happens is, and they talk about this in the book, that you maintain eye contact. You don't let other things distract you while you're listening. Matter of fact, you get good at removing distractions, cutting the TV off, maybe walking into a separate room. Maybe you and your coworker going off to the side, or you and your spouse, or you and your child. You listen for the feelings of what's happening, as well as the words that's happening. In other words, you listen with your heart, not just with your head. Again, so many times in our workplace, we get so caught up in listening with the head that we forget about the heart. And we affirm their feelings. Listen, what's important to help people feel value is that you affirm a feeling even though you might disagree with that feeling. Understanding it maybe it's not the same thing as agreeing. I can understand your emotions. I can understand how you feel about something without necessarily agreeing with that. And body language, studies show that 50 to 70% of all communication is body language. So, what are you doing? Are you being preoccupied, with your phone? Are you still writing? And I'm listening. I can. Are you really focused on what they're saying? And lastly, to be a good passive listener, you refuse to interrupt. In other words, you don't finish their sentences for them. Oh, I know where you're going with this. I know. No. You don't do that. You listen. Now, there are many settings where quality time can be expressed. But time invested in the language of a quality time often is the difference between that employee being motivated or demotivated. And listening, showing appreciation by spending time with others, it can take all kinds of forms. So again, if you have somebody on your team member, or this is your language, you understand the fact that when that person gives me their undivided attention, they give me their 5 minutes, they give me that 10-minute conversation, whatever. You feel valued of what's happening in your life, that they're taking it serious. So, we talk about words of appreciation. We talked about how that we can have this quality time where we listening and develop our skills in listening. So here's the third language that he talks about in chapter 5, and that's acts of service. Now again, for some people, demonstrating appreciation through acts of service, what it does, it just communicates how much you really care about them. You know, often these individual studies show that they've got the perspective, and we've often heard it said, don't tell me that you care, show me that you care. And for them, actions speak louder than words. Therefore, by giving them a gift, even a verbal praise can often be met with indifference. Why? Because they feel like that the words are there, but the actions are not there. And there's several strategies that can make this process more effective. Make sure, number one, your own responsibilities are covered before you volunteer to help. I mean, you can't have a team member over here that you're going and you're trying to give them an act of service or helping them, and all of a sudden you're letting things slack over here. You've got to make sure your things are covered. Everything is covered. Secondly, so important, is that you ask before you help. Because if they don't want your help, often it produces tension, not appreciation. In other words, if I just show up and start helping you without saying, hey, I noticed, Jim, that you're trying to get this project done and trying to get this thing wrapped up. Hey, I've got 10 minutes. Hey, what if I come along here and I helped you? Now, when I ask you for that permission, now you can feel valued or appreciation versus tension. If I just show up and start doing it, then again, the assumption might be you think that I think you're not doing your job. Or maybe you think that I think you're not going to get your job done. And so I'm there to rescue you. And I don't want that. Again, remember, everything we're doing here is trying to add value to each other. The third thing is you check your attitude. Again, if I show up with an attitude of anger, upsetness, and I just start working, that's not going to add value to you. I want to make sure that I'm cheerful, I'm positive, because I understand, hey, this is your language, acts of service. That this produces appreciation and value in your life. So when I show up, I want to be in a good attitude. I'm doing this because I want to do it, not because I feel like I have to. Well, if I don't help her, I feel like she'll get upset, and well, you know how she. No, I don't want that. I want to make sure that you feel valued and that I'm doing that. And then lastly, make sure you complete what you start. In other words, so many times, particularly again, if this is your gift and this is your language of appreciation, the acts of service, and I show up and I help you 2 minutes and then I walk away, then I probably have just kind of broken your cycle. I haven't really helped you. Or I show up and I say, well, hey, I noticed you're doing this. Why don't we do this and this and this? And I rearrange everything you're doing, only to, after I rearrange it, to walk away. You're going to look at me like, well, you jerk. I mean, I had my own system going here. No, make sure that you complete what you start. And when you do that, so those two other languages, the gift of giving acts of service, the gift of quality time, being a good listener, giving you that 5 minutes when you say, hey, you got 5 minutes? I just need to share. And I say, absolutely. I shut everything off. I put my cell phone down. I close the door, whatever, and I make sure you feel valued by that. Then you're going to find yourself to the point. And then we have chapter number 6, tangible gifts. Now again, giving the right gift to a person who appreciates tangible rewards can send a powerful message of thanks and appreciation and encouragement. But if you give a gift to someone who doesn't appreciate gifts, it has little impact. And often the wrong gift can actually create an offense. Dr. Chapman, in the book, they talked about the challenge is to give the correct gift to the right person. And sometimes it's difficult to just do it across the board. Again, we talked about earlier, sometimes, hey, you did a great job, give yourself a hand clap. Or, hey, everybody gets a $5 gift card, a $10 gift card. A lot of times, that across the board thing, it doesn't meet the need of that person who has got that language of a tangible gift. And again, it's difficult for organizations today to reward good employee performance across the board. Again, let's say that you've got 10 people out of 25 who are doing an excellent job, and you give all 25 the same gift. Well, again, now you've created an issue over here with this 10 people, and they think, wait a minute, these 15 people over here, they have been doing their job. They haven't been, man, we've been knocking it out of the park. We've been working our socks off. And what it does, it creates almost, again, within the workplace, that rivalry. So you have to be sure that you're giving that tangible gift to those who really going to appreciate it. And you have to give a gift that person really values. And again, what I've noticed particularly in our culture today is that the gift cards and things like that, they have value to a certain people. But now, a day off, or hey, you can come in an hour late, tomorrow. You did such a great job today. Giving back some of those time things often is one of those areas which is highly, highly appreciated. And then we go to chapter 7, which is physical touch. And again, that's a language that, again, they studied and they knew that it would be challenged to translate it, particularly in the workplace appropriately. And most of the field testing that they did, they didn't find too many people who really wanted that physical touch at the workplace. That wasn't their dominant language. However, there is times that is appropriate. And when a person needs that affirming touch, that pat on the back, that quick handshake, that high five, almost always those are things that for a person that values that physical touch, that can build them up, that can encourage them. Almost instinctively in times of crisis, when somebody has lost a loved one, when a parent has died, or a grandparent has died, or somebody's gotten sick, that hug, that side hug, it's a powerful way to communicate how much you care about people. So we understand, and most of you, if you haven't already at this point, you'll go through some type of sexual harassment training to just kind of make sure that you know your boundaries. But we should never get away, or we should never have the mindset that the workplace should be a totally touchless environment. Again, appropriate acts of physical expressions are by many can add depth of warmth and can really add value in relationships. But you got to balance it. You got to know between the opposite sex. You got to be careful in all the words. But again, it's always the heart of the issue to say, I want to make sure my heart's right in this. That if I'm giving that compliment, going back to words of appreciation, if I'm saying something specific about, your hair looks nice today, that it's never said in such a way that a person feels uncomfortable about that. So we talked about these 5 languages, and we're going to take a break here and give you an opportunity to kind of wrap your arms around it. Then we're going to talk about how do we come back and apply these concepts a little bit in our daily life in chapter 8. So we'll take a break and we'll be right back.